It's gone now.
Okay, so let's start this all over again. Hi, everybody. It's Joe Rayo and Joe Chaffee on the Joe and Joe Weather Show on this Tuesday, the 25th of August, 2020, with one hurricane, Hurricane Laura, front and center. And we're going to have Addison Green on again tonight at about 7:20. So everybody just hang on tight. He will be showing up in a little bit. Meanwhile, funny thing today, just want to let's talk about today's weather first, and then we'll get into all the tropical stuff, and we'll just get this out of the way. So we were talking yesterday about the fact that how the models really didn't have hardly anything with this, and the odd thing was, Joe, they finally they just finally put in a severe thunderstorm watch in the one spot in New Jersey where they had the enhanced risk and didn't have a watch up. But the line, a fairly robust line move up through northern New England. There was a little small line that just came through here, and we had some thunder and a little bit of rain. And now I see the skies are beginning to clear on the northwest side. But the considering the fact that we had an enhanced risk of severe weather, the models have been wrong by having next to nothing. But on the other hand, the risk seems to have been a bit overplayed.
Yeah, well, I said this yesterday. I said, I, I don't want to argue with the specialists in severe weather over in Norman, Oklahoma. They're the ones who put out the advisories, the watches, and indications of whether or not we're going to be hammered or not. And I was just scratching my head yesterday. I said, am I missing something? Because a lot of the models, the short term models, were not really indicating all that much to be concerned about. And we mentioned how in the last couple of weeks, especially the short term models, haven't done all that well with severe weather and possible storm outbreaks. But it turned out this time they might have been correct. I mean, we did see activity. We did see where I was.
Right.
We had some lightning, some thunder, and actually, I was going back and forth between two locations today, and en route to one location, I went through a very, very hard downpour of rain. And when I came back to the spot where I started, my wife said, she says, "Oh, we didn't get anything. We hardly got a drop of anything." So, that was the kind of day it was. It's pretty well. I'm sure now it's gone because
Well,
the sky now is taking on a
I have
nice
the
shade of blue.
yeah, I have the local radar up from Upton, and it's the thinnest of lines that is moving through really quickly. They threw up a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. They had one up over me, but I have to tell you, really, not much happened. You can see there's a couple of warnings out in Rhode Island, one in Rhode Island, and a special marine warning offshore up in Boston. But for the most part, uh, this line is kind of playing as if it was a non-event, and just checking out the wider radar view. Action now moving off the coast of Maine. You can see the thin line that's dropping down through northern New Jersey and points south. Then you have the really robust line that's from northern Virginia and northern West Virginia to southern Ohio. That line is cranking and moving southward. But this cold front is coming through, and I cannot wait till I was looking at the forecast dew points, Joe, for 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. A dew point of 48 for me and a temperature of 75. I cannot wait to feel that tomorrow. It's just
It's
going to be a delightful day.
going to be a delightful day, and it's going to last all of one day.
Correct.
It looks like we're back in the schmutz, so to speak, Thursday and Friday, and on into the start of the upcoming week. Although it looks to me from the brief look that I did get a chance to, and I apologize to our viewers because I told you this. I only got back. I spent the entire day today somewhere else, and didn't get a chance to do much in terms of weather until like 10 or 15 minutes ago. But from what I can see, after we get past Saturday night, it looks like another very nice sweep of dry and pleasant weather moving in for Sunday into the start of next week.
You are correct. Nothing really much has changed in terms of the overall outlook, Joe. And Hurricane Laura really is the main feature. Marco's long gone, of course. The remnant low is pretty well torn to shreds. I mean, you actually could still see a little bit of it moving westward along the northeast Texas coast, the southeast Tech coast, the coast of southeast Texas. Let's put it that way. And you're seeing moisture and some showers and storms that are running up into the Ohio and Tennessee Valley. It's kind of separate from Laura, which on the satellite during this afternoon and evening, it does look like it's becoming better organized. There's an Air Force reconnaissance aircraft there at the moment, and I'm sure we're going to get some observations from that. Looks like the storm, in terms of the clouds, are expanding. It looks like as if it's getting bigger, and still moving west-northwest, but at a slightly slower forward speed from what it was yesterday, down to about 17 or 18 miles an hour from about 20 or 21. But the main player here is, with regards to the strength, is the fact that we had this deep trough that sheared off Marco. Well, that trough is doing as advertised, retrograding back westward through Texas, and this is creating a very, very solid outflow here with a solid environment for strengthening. In fact, it's quite possible that we could go into a phase of steady or even rapid intensification overnight and into Wednesday. There's no shear that I can see. The clouds right along the Texas coast are going southwest and northeast, so that's the easternmost extent of that upper trough. So Laura, at this point now, it's just a matter of just watching what the recon finds, and we'll see how strong it gets. And it's aiming for somewhere near the Texas-Louisiana state line.
It looks like, and I've been saying for the past few days, that we indeed may see some rather significant strengthening from this system during the next 24 hours, Joe. I said yesterday and back on Sunday, it's that time of the year, very similar area to Katrina in 2005. We saw Katrina jump 2 categories over a span of 9 hours back in 2005 before making landfall, weakening back to a category 3. But it would not be at all surprising to me if this thing bolts all the way up to a 3 or even a 4 before it makes landfall on late tomorrow night or early in the wee hours of Thursday morning.
By the way, folks, if you looked at, I just drew a circle around what's in the Caribbean. That's an upper low. And the upper low, you see the thunderstorms that fire up, a cold upper low, and the obvious counterclockwise circulation. Sometimes these upper lows will eventually warm over time, and you get a surface low that will form, and it makes kind of a transition over to a tropical system. But I don't think that's going to be the case this time around. It doesn't look like that upper low is really moving very much, and it's just kind of sitting there. But it's all part of this whole setup that we have that's put Laura in this environment that is favorable for strengthening. So I'm going to bring up the recon plot. This is actually from the plane itself, and then I'm going to bring up the ops to see what we could find. Now they're circling around and trying to pinpoint get a center fix. You see the purple wind barbs there. Those are 64 to 83 knot winds, and the center is somewhere to the left of that. So we'll wait to have the plane make this. They're taking like a weird route here. They came in from the northeast on the outside, came down and around. By the way, one of the things I noticed today, I'll go back to the goals. I'm going to see if I can bring this shot up. If it's one of the options here. Where is it?
While you're doing that, Joe, I just noticed on the chat board we have a gentleman watching us from Northern Ireland right now.
Oh, welcome aboard, sir.
John Comer.
Oh, very nice.
Corner, excuse me. John Corner saying hello from Northern Ireland and hello to you back. It's nice to have somebody from across the big pond.
When we have the storms that hit up your way, we do cover them here and have in the past, and we'll do so in the future. So just so you know, tell your friends. I put up the enhanced satellite loop of Laura because I was watching it earlier today. I can't find the one that's got the temperatures on it, but the cloud tops on this have cooled to like -80, -90. So there's something going on. It'll be interesting to see what the plane brings back when it's all said and done. I think, judging from at least from what I could see on the visible, Joe, it is starting its process of strengthening, and we'll just wait for the plane to tell us otherwise. If,
It looks
if
like a classic, or it's already looked like on the view that you have up right now. It's developing into the classic textbook significant, if not major, hurricane. And you can also see the beginnings of an ice outflow boundary, especially to the north and northeast of the storm.
The Hurricane Center's forecast as of 4 p.m. At the 4 p.m. advisory: 24.7 north, 88.3 west. Maximum sustained winds are 80 miles an hour, moving west northwest at 17, and you can see it's pretty much sitting right there in the almost a bullseye central Gulf of Mexico. Going to start to make more of a northwest turn, and then eventually north northwest and north. And the M is for major. The Hurricane Center forecasting this to become a major hurricane, a Category 3. And I think that's certainly doable given the circumstances. I suppose if it really gets into one of these deepening phases, rapid deepening, that maybe it could push the envelope a bit and make it up to a Category 4 hurricane. The intensity models today, they were actually showing about half of the models earlier today were showing this getting to at least a Category 3. Now this kind of backed off just a little bit, but 3 of the models make it at least a 3. One actually makes it a 4. Just about all the rest of them make it a 2 or even a strong 2. So it's close enough. It'll probably get to that threshold of being a Category 3 or just over a Category 3. Again, unless we get into really get into a rapid strengthening phase. And Joe, as you know, we've said this a number of times. The Hurricane Center has said it a number of times. Strengthening is not their strong suit, and not anyone's strong suit when it comes to these tropical systems. That's that's one part of the forecast where they continue. They still have a lot to learn as far as these storms and how they strengthen. And sometimes the other way around. Sometimes you have everything pointing to strengthening, and then for whatever reason, it never seems to get going. So the strengthening is always the toughest part.
Absolutely, and it's been the bane of the hurricane forecasters. They've done quite a bit better over the years. They've really have improved things tracking these storms. The track has improved quite markedly, but still the intensification, and it still can happen. I mean, like as we saw again with Katrina 15 years ago, you could jump from you know a Category 3 to a Category 5 in a blink of an eye, especially in those warm Gulf waters. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I'm saying is just don't be surprised if there is going to be some surprises in terms of the intensity of this thing as it gets closer to the coast over the next 24 to 30 hours.
Johnny Quest asks, how do hurricanes typically grow stronger during the heat of the day or the night, or does it matter? Honestly, it really doesn't matter. It has. You have to remember that it's in a tropical environment where the temperature difference between day and night really isn't all that much. The important thing is the setup aloft. If you've got light wind conditions in the upper atmosphere, or if you have little or no wind shear, that's far more important than time of day. So you just wait to see whether it gets into a rapid deepening phase, and when it does, it'll strengthen, whether it's during the day or whether it's at night.
And
Makes life a little easier.
Well, I mean, somebody was also asking about whether or not Marco might have an influence on Laura in terms of the system. Laura passing over the same waters as Marco did. I'm assuming that the assumption was that there might have been some upwelling, bringing up some cooler water.
It was so small, Joe, and it fell apart.
Yeah, I was going to say it has really no major bearing with what Laura is going to do. Marco's long gone, so
yeah. I mean, all that was left earlier today was just a low cloud swirl, and when I looked on the loop, I could barely see it now. So it has no bearing. The only way it would have had bearing on it if Marco had strengthened to say a Category 2 hurricane and sat out in the Gulf of Mexico for a little longer period of time where maybe it would have upwelled some of the water. But also, Marco is much further to the east than where Laura is going. So they're not really crossing the same path. In fact, Laura is now pretty much west of where Marco was when Marco was a hurricane. So the upwelling is at an absolute minimum. And when you've got water temperatures that are up around 90 and they get upwell to the upwelling cools them down to 87, it's not going to really make a huge difference in terms of intensity, because 86-degree water is usually the threshold to support a major, and you're way above that anyhow. So there's no impact. The forecast hurricane models tonight, and we're at the point now. We're talking about a landfall here later tomorrow night or very early Thursday morning. That I really don't think we're going to see much change. The models have really tightened up. The westernmost track is just to the east of Galveston now, and the easternmost track is pretty Lake Charles. So it's a very, very tight range here. And if you split the difference, it probably comes ashore right near the Texas-Louisiana state line. And then on the model tracks, Joe, and this is whatever remnant low it follows, it turns it northeast and then east and east-northeast across Kentucky and West Virginia, and then off the Delaware coast. Now, this is probably going to be the remnant low, and it's going to get involved with the frontal system that's coming here for Saturday. So I guess the big question is whether it's going to wind up enhancing the rainfall. I've seen a few model runs today, Joe, where it kind of hints that maybe the rainfall will get enhanced somewhat. If you can have an intact low, an intact little circulation to follow, and you get under that, then you probably will get some very heavy rains. But it's going to be like hitting a bullseye.
Correct. And I've already seen, I talked to you about this before we went on tonight. I've already seen at least one Facebook post saying, "Oh my goodness, did you see the latest hurricane plot? It looks like Laura is going to come our way. It's going to come on through as a tropical storm. And what is it about 2020? Why are we getting all of this? What is it going to be?" And making it sound like another Armageddon. And really, I think that on the weekend, it's not going to be so much the remnant low, the remnants of Laura. I think it's going to be that cold front that's going to play.
Yeah, the front I think would have done any. Is the dynamics with the front and the trough with it are enough to create the kind of rain that we're going to get anyhow.
Right.
So and WPC, by the way, just for argument's sake here, you see the stripe of orange and brown. I mean, that's where you got the 5 to 10 inch rainfall amounts running up to near where the landfall is, southeasternmost Texas and western Louisiana, and Arkansas gets soaked pretty well. Those rains start to tail off a little bit, 2 to 4 inches into Kentucky and West Virginia. But after that, I mean, they're showing us getting in the range of maybe 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches. And the heavy precip that you see up in Wisconsin and into western Michigan, and also through some pockets in upstate New York and into New England, the 2 to 3 inch amounts plus there. I mean, that's with the frontal boundary, really. So, yeah, I don't know that it really was going to make too much of a difference unless, again, if you get under, there's probably going to be some kind of remnant ball of convection that will represent the remnant surface low that you'll be able to follow it along on the radar. So unless you get under that, you're probably not going to really get a whole. You're probably not going to get clobbered. You will have the heavier rain amounts. But if WPC was thinking that we were going to get a real soaking out of this, I would imagine that they would have had that stripe of 3 inches plus going all the way up into New Jersey and Long Island, and they're not doing that.
No, and in fact, if anything, from what I was able to get a glimpse of in the last 5 or 10 minutes, it seems to me like what is being implied is that Saturday may turn out to be mainly dry or more dry than wet, and the full thrust of rainfall may come in the overnight hours on Saturday night. Again, more because of the cold front as opposed to the remnant low of Laura. And if that cold front keeps on moving, we could all wake up on Sunday morning to maybe a leftover shower, maybe even nothing more than a few clouds and bright sunny conditions and a nice turn into the northwest with the winds. So it looks like right now a kind of a 50-50 split with the more humid and possibly wetter of the two weekend days on Saturday, courtesy more of the cold front than Laura, although Laura's remnants will be lurking, and then nice weather on for Sunday. And we do have a new name, I guess you could call it, Awesome Gaming, who has decided to hit Super
Oh,
Chat
he's
tonight.
he hasn't been on in a while. Nice to see you back. Go
And
ahead,
he
Joe.
and he asked the question: did you see tropical storm conditions in Arkansas and parts of Oklahoma? I'm assuming he's talking about Laura, and it would seem that Arkansas may very well get some very hefty rain and shower activity from the remnants of Laura. And who knows if
Eastern
if it does,
Oklahoma could also
yeah,
go into some of that.
a slice of eastern Oklahoma. If it comes inland as a Cat 3, it could very well be it could very well maintain itself as perhaps a tropical storm by the time it makes its way up into Arkansas. So yeah, Arkansas and a slice of eastern Oklahoma most definitely could be on the hit list from Laura during the next few days.
Well, let's welcome aboard our good friend. Uh, yes, Addison Green, who was with us last night, meteorologist Addison Green from KHOU-TV in Houston, Texas, taking time out of his busy schedule, movie star that he is, to join us to talk about Hurricane Laura. So tell us, I'm curious, Addison, at this point, you're under a hurricane warning there, as I saw earlier. Is that correct? So,
Yeah.
what is going on? Since you're going to probably, I mean, you are going to be on the western side of this, the way it looks, unless we get a little bit more of a jog to the left. I'm thinking that it's probably going to make landfall east of you, so that at least puts you on the west side, which is a little bit of which is a bit of a plus.
hmm No, absolutely. You're right. That nice, actually not nice, but the track that effect that's east of the city, and it's been consistent the past full runs, both at 4 o'clock and 10 o'clock this morning Central Time, have kept it right on the Texas-Louisiana border. So thankfully, the worst of the storm will be hitting very much sparsely populated areas of southwestern Louisiana. We're still expecting to get, especially across the Galveston Bay area, north and western sides of the bay, the higher storm surge, 3 to 5 feet in some spots. But from what I've been told, since this is my first year here in Houston,
baptism
that
by
bay
fire. That's the best. Baptism by fire, Addison, is the best way to have it. This way, you don't have time to think.
No, there's no time to think at all. Just dive right into it. And of course, why not get a season that parallels 2005's incredible season, in which case we're breaking records left and right. So who knows what the rest of the season will unfold, but I'm sure I'll be seeing more watches and warnings put up where I'm at.
Well, what are the folks at your office thinking about in terms of the track of this and the impacts?
We're thinking that the track is going to be rather consistent, staying just east of the Houston metro area, unless there's something massively changing in the next 24 hours. I don't think the track's going to jump west about 100, 150 miles, in which case it'll put Houston in the worst case scenario potentially. But so we're keeping the track east of us. We're going to get the heavy rain to the east of us towards Beaumont. In fact, our sister station in Beaumont is under evacuations over there in their evacuation zone. So they'll be using one of our remote sites for tomorrow, or I think Thursday, definitely tomorrow to Thursday, I should say. But we're not dealing with evacuations here for the most part in Harris County, where Houston is located. But along the coastal areas, there have been voluntary and some areas mandatory evacuation in places like Galveston, for instance.
Right.
You're just pretty much sitting out there in the Gulf for the most part.
Well, I'm sure they've already closed the beaches and told everybody to leave, as you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one's sitting on the beaches.
Here's a question. Given that we're still under this, with everything going on with regards to COVID, you're not all in the studio, are you?
We are in the studio, but thankfully we have multiple spaces to utilize for the weather center. So the team, all 4 of us, will be working tomorrow into Thursday, but we each have our own designated zone. And that's how it is for the most part across the newsroom. Newsroom, I think at one point it was like 50, 60 people, before, pre-pandemic, but now there's maybe like 10 people in the newsroom. Everyone else is working remotely or in the field.
Joe, you got a question for our buddy Addison?
I'm just happy that you're safe, and you're not
Thanks.
going through what your sister station is going through right now, because that probably would add additional stress. And yeah, I agree with Joe. It's baptism by fire, Addison. This is your first real test, and sometimes you don't really have a chance to ponder or consider or think. You just go right with it, and let's hope that Houston has had enough problems in recent years with tropical cyclones, and let's hope that you just get the fringe effects as opposed to getting hit straight on by this system.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Joe Rayo agreed. And as long as it stays that track to the east, we're fine. I mean, a couple of people were thinking like, oh, what if it goes, straight towards Houston? And we're not too concerned about that happening right now. But people are getting prepared for it, and a lot of people are reminiscing of course, Harvey sticks in most people's minds only 3 years ago to the day, but also Ike coming through, Rita as well. Storms of the historical references right there that we'll never see those names again, thankfully. But like, this will not be one of those storms. We are prepared for what we got to do, and even doing this all during a pandemic, there have been excuse me, from the mayor, from the governor, numerous plans put in place to sparsely, I should say, portion out aid where need be, safety shelters where need be, and having enough vehicles and transport vehicles so that way you don't have 30 people piled up in one vehicle. They'll be spaced out. Same thing with shelters as well.
Houston's an oil town, so I've heard. And all the rigs are shut down, and I noticed that the markets the last couple of days, the oil market and the gasoline market in particular, have been reacting to all of that. And of course, once when we get into tomorrow and landfall is pretty well imminent, the markets will just probably reverse to an extent. But I'm just kind of wondering, because this is an odd time, given the fact that the energy industry. Addison, you may not be able to, you might not know the answer to this, but I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not trying to embarrass you or anything,
No.
but since you're in Houston, and I'm sure it's probably the topic of some conversation. The oil industry's been hit very, very, very hard with the whole pandemic. There's no demand, the economy being shut down, and now what few oil rigs that were working, now those are all shut down. So I imagine that the business folks there aren't too happy these days.
No, not too happy, and they're doing what they have to do to try and ride this thing out. But I personally have not heard of any grumblings amongst that population, but I'm sure there have to be some concerns, considering that this is, if not the biggest, one of the biggest energy corridors of the country.
Right.
There's so much refineries and gas plants, and they get the oil rigs offshore that this is the market for energy trading and whatnot. So a lot of people have their eyes on anything that impacts any production.
GFS, the new GFS has it. Looks like a 9, just about a 960 pressure. So that would probably be a borderline 3, coming in right at the Texas-Louisiana line. The European was a little bit left of that. It still remains that in the UK Met model, the furthest left. All of them have the idea of a Cat 3, and then. The big positive here, it keeps on moving. It is moving, and moving at a relatively decent clip once it goes inland. So at least from that standpoint, Addison, you get whatever rain you get when the system goes by. And I'm looking at the GFS here. If you believe the GFS, you probably won't see much rain if you get the thing to go in near the Texas-Louisiana line.
No, yeah, you won't see much rain. There's going to be like a clear cutoff almost on some of the models we were showing of some people getting 6+ to some people getting 2 and change.
And some
right,
people being on the edge and getting next to nothing.
no, yeah, people like way west of the city be like, "What storm?" It was just a breezy,
Right.
Cloudy day. But you're going towards Beaumont and towards the border, yeah, you're going to be seeing, maybe a foot of rain in some spots. But like you said, this is a fast mover. Thank goodness. By Thursday afternoon, we're seeing maybe breaks in the cloud deck and drier conditions coming on in.
Joe, we didn't mention this. Maybe we should have a few minutes ago when we were talking about possible severe weather, but
Mhm.
I don't know if you had a chance to look at it. I just saw it myself for a couple of minutes ago. But the Storm Prediction Center has on day 5, Saturday, we're in an area for possible
For
severe
risk?
weather.
Well, I mean, with the front and probably
Day
some
5.
day 5, which would be Saturday for
Right.
us, because at that point we got a weather front that's coming on through. But I'll take the GFS through that time frame. Uh, of course, our front is going through here. I'll back it up, let the map load. But our front is long through, and by tomorrow morning, it's running across North Carolina and back over into northern Georgia, northern Alabama. Then you start to get, looks like there's we set up for a warm front here on Thursday, it looks like, and then another weak cold front that stalls out. Now here comes that frontal boundary that we're talking about for Saturday, and yeah, I mean, I could see it. You've got a 97 low that goes up into Lake Huron.
Hmm. Yeah.
So we just draw the front here. So there's a cold front here. Somewhere in here is probably whatever remnant low is with Laura. So if that thing holds intact, that's probably one of the things they might be looking at, Joe, is the fact that there'll be a remnant ball of convection and a remnant low. And under that, when it goes by with a little daytime heating because of where the front is and what's going on ahead of it, that we wind up with some hefty thunderstorms and maybe even a spin up in there if whoever gets into it.
Right.
Hmm.
And
Oh, for sure. All that tropical moisture. Yeah. Surging up that way.
And then after,
as I said yesterday, you just know, and I will almost put money down if everybody wants to put money down on this, is that all of our local, I'm not talking about down in Houston, but here in New York, the local television channels are going to lead off the news on Friday evening, showing pictures of what has happened in the wake of Laura down in Texas and down in Louisiana, and then they're going to add. And now it looks like it's heading our way. Will we be seeing what they saw down south, just to scare you? And of course
Hmm.
that means that they're trying to drive people to stay with them for the upcoming 11 o'clock news on Friday night. I
Of
guarantee that's going to
course.
be the story.
Oh, absolutely. Anybody covering national would be, I'm sure, sending correspondents down here or tapping into their local affiliates down here. That will be, all the video will be coming on in Tuesday, late night Wednesday into Thursday morning. Unfortunately, for visualization purposes, you're not going to see much at 1 a.m. when it's coming ashore Thursday morning. But then all the morning shows on Thursday will have, I'm sure, latest videos, latest stats. Here it is coming in landfall.
That's got to be scary, though, to have a major hurricane coming in. It's bad enough it comes in during the daylight hours, but to have it come in, if you're
Yeah.
nearby, to have it come in like a 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, that's got to be very scary, very frightening.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially driving around in Louisiana when I was coming on that way from New York City area initially. I had to drive across southern Louisiana, across the I-10 corridor, and there was not much in terms of any available spots to park off the roadways of I-10. Not much in terms of lights. You just saw pretty much,
and there are
spots of bogs and whatnot.
well, I was going to say
and
there are
bayous.
stretches there on I-10 where you're literally going over miles and miles of swamp, and
Yeah.
and of course you occasionally will pass by the run over squashed armadillo on the road, and
South
yeah, you don't want to be
Universe.
wandering through those bogs and become an alligator's lunch, but. Yeah, and you get caught in a thunderstorm on I-10. You're in a stretch where there's no exits. You just got to sit there and wait. By the way, not to rub it in, but we're going to have dew points in the 40s here tomorrow.
I don't even know what that's like anymore.
No, I mean, you're still frying. I know you're still frying eggs on sidewalks down there.
I step outside some days this month and I'm like, I can feel my skin cooking. I don't know how people acclimate here, but many people have moved, so I just gotta get used to it.
When you sweat so much that you can actually wring out your clothes and fill up a bucket. I mean, I've done that when I lived in New Orleans. I used to play doubles tennis on Mondays, and we'd play for like 4 hours, and you'd walk and you'd sweat so much that your socks would be soaked, and you would leave footprints of your sweat on the ground, and the ground was so hot that you would leave the footprint. Then when you lift your feet up and look, you just have to watch it. You can actually see the wet footprint evaporate, like a cartoon. It would just evaporate. Yeah, it's Southern living is summertime in the South is with that blazing sun is quite interesting. I'm looking at the upper air on the long range, and we still seem to have, Joe, going into the last days of the month and into next week. It's actually the jet stream is pretty far south and fairly active. After next weekend, after we get whatever we get on Saturday, yeah, we're going to get a nice shot of cool air, and there's another deep, rather wound up upper low near Lake Winnipeg that sets up a trough later next week that eventually swings on through. We still have this northern part of the jet that's active, and also the other thing I'm noticing too, it's kind of blocky. The heights are higher than normal across Greenland and on up in the northern part of the Atlantic. I wonder if we're going to go back into a negative North Atlantic oscillation again. I think I'm going to pull up the teleconnections, because we actually had the winter triple back a week or so ago, where we had a positive PNA, a negative NAO, and a negative EPO. The oscillations that you dream about in the wintertime, non-existent in the wintertime, and they show up here in the summertime. But I'm just looking at the teleconnections.
Oh yes.
Deeply negative Pacific North America index, kind of a back and forth North Atlantic oscillation index from negative to positive to negative to positive, and slightly positive to slightly negative EPO. So kind of an undetermined on two of these, I guess, and the PNA wants to be strongly negative. So I don't usually look at the tellies, but in the summertime, but we keep seeing these deep troughs that want to try to drop into the eastern part of the United States. So I would just, and you still have that rather strong east-west ridge over the southern half of the Atlantic. So nothing to me has really changed overall as we go into the month of September. And I think that will leave the door open for the possibility of maybe a third system at some point making an eyeball for the East Coast. We'll see.
A third system? Oh, man. Here it comes.
Yep.
Well, we've had two so far. All right, so tomorrow and Thursday you're working.
Yeah, I am working tomorrow afternoon, and then I think the morning show on Thursday. We're just staggering shifts all over the place for Wednesday and Thursday, and then if all works out according to plan, and this thing's out of here by Thursday afternoon, it's looking and feeling much better. But this is gonna be my first major hurricane to be sitting in. So part of me wishes I could be like out there on the Galveston Beach area and be like, "Oh, here it comes," but I'd rather stay dry inside the studio.
All right. Now you said
the best place to be.
Yeah.
No, it's actually
nobody wants us out there.
It's actually better to do. It's actually better to do it from home.
Ask yourself a question: do you really want to play the role of Jim Cantore in this type of situation?
No.
I don't think so.
No. Jim Cantore can play Jim Cantore all he wants. I have no desire to play his role. He does an amazing job, and kudos to him to stand out in those elements for a prolonged period of time. But I'll go inside the studio. I don't mind that.
All right. You said you had a Zoom meeting coming up at 7:45. We don't want you to get in trouble with your boss. So thanks for joining us tonight. You're always welcome here.
Always a pleasure, guys. Give me some of that cool, dry air down this way, please. I'm tired of sweating.
Okay,
I'll I'll stand on my roof tomorrow, Addison, and blow toward the south.
Just send it this way.
Yes. All right, buddy. Have a
All
good
right.
one. We'll see you soon, and stay safe, okay?
All right, you guys do as well. Talk to you soon.
Take care. So, Joe, real quick, I just want to run through a couple of things with regards to severe weather. There's actually, believe it or not, there's a severe thunderstorm watch up for much of the southern half of Arizona at the moment. They're under a marginal risk of severe weather. Also up in parts of Idaho, Montana, and across North Dakota into Minnesota. This is for tonight, and you see the risk area. This is all played out pretty much now in the northern mid-Atlantic to southern New England. I guess that enhanced risk really didn't, maybe it was a little bit overdone in hindsight. Going into day 2, which is for tomorrow, and this is into Friday morning. So we have a slight risk, western PA, western New York, eastern Ohio. So this is mainly probably for tomorrow night. And also up across northern Wisconsin into the upper, both peninsulas of Michigan, but the northern part of the lower, and back into Minnesota. Slight risk of severe weather for Louisiana and East Texas, and that, of course, is because Laura will be making landfall late Wednesday night, early Thursday morning. Moving on to Friday, they actually have us, Joe, on Friday, which is day 3. They have a slight risk of severe weather here. Almost all of New York State except the extreme northeast, central and southern New England, down to all of Jersey except southernmost New Jersey, which is under a marginal risk. And that slight risk goes west to Michigan, Ohio, back over towards Chicago, southern Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, and South Dakota into northern Nebraska. So they've got risk here both on Friday and, as you said, on the day 4 to 8 outlook. Take a look at that. Day 4. Yeah, so day 5, 15% slight risk. Yeah, slight risk from Northeast Virginia on up to southern New Hampshire and everybody in between. So I think it makes sense considering what we're going to go into tropical air again later on Thursday, and that's going to stay with us until the front passes.
They actually had the slight risk rather close to us for tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is from earlier on in the day today, and you take a look at that quickly and you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, I thought it was going to be nice, cool, and dry here. Well, how could it be that it's so just a stone's throw away to the south and west? They've got severe weather, but I guess it's a very tight.
Well, they backed off for tomorrow here,
yeah.
but they do. But for Friday, they have it all over the place.
Right. And then Saturday, I mean, how many times we were just talking the other day? Like, not very often you see a day 4, but now I guess they're getting a little more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Aggressive.
Aggressive to put us in day 5. That's pretty amazing.
That it is. That it is indeed. So let me just bring us back full screen. Any more questions up on the chat board? I haven't looked at the chat board for a while.
Haven't seen much. They're kind of going back and forth among themselves here right now.
Which is perfectly all right. But we did have that. We did have awesome gaming hitting a super chat hit tonight, and again, thank you very much for doing that. So, if there are no other questions, nope, I don't see any other questions. So you know what? I'm kind of tired. I had a busy day today, putting weather up all day long. So I want to go have a glass of wine and digest the big, beautiful steak that I had for dinner.
Well, lovely. I hope you have a good dinner. I already had a quickie chicken and pasta dinner, and right now I just want to just lay down for a short while.
All right, look,
it was a busy day today for me.
You go lay down. Everybody have a great night. Joe and I will be back tomorrow at 7:00 Eastern time to go through everything with regards to Laura, and we'll see what we have at that point. And enjoy the day tomorrow. If you're in our neck of the woods, eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, it's going to be just an absolutely beautiful day. Some places aren't going to get out of the 70s. Some places may not even get out of the mid-70s. Dew points are going to get down into the 40s in a lot of spots. We just had one day last week. We said it was the best day of the summer. Well, now we may have maybe this one would be the best day of the summer.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a great.
And it's kind of sadly ironic, Joe. We'll be sitting here in probably about as nice a weather pattern as you could ask for any time of the year. And while we're going through that, poor Addison and the folks down on the Gulf Coast are going to be doing all their best to batten down against Laura,
Yep.
which will be making landfall tomorrow night.
All right. So and we'll be here to cover it. So we'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Take care and enjoy. Good night, everybody.
Good night.